Hi everyone, welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I am joined by Don Berner, a lifelong Edmonton musician, saxophonist, and the driving force behind the Don Berner Big Band and its foundation. Don, thanks so much for being here today. To kick things off, can you briefly introduce yourself and the work you do for those in the audience who may be discovering you for the first time?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me here. It's great to chat. I make my living as a saxophone player in the city of Edmonton, and one of the things that had been kicked around in this city for a long time was the idea of having a flagship big band. You know, every city has a symphony orchestra. Every city has flagship sports teams, and more and more cities. If you look at New York, for example, they have the Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at the Lincoln Center Orchestra. And something like that has been attempted in Edmonton off and on for a few decades with little success, quite frankly. So I decided to take a kick at the can, and it's been, I would say, fairly successful. It's primarily been a fully programmed concert season, now entering our fifth season this fall, and it's supported by operating under the auspices of a not-for-profit society called the Don Berner Big Band Foundation, which in my so-called spare time, I act as the executive director of, in addition to being the artistic director of the big band.
Yeah, so it's good to know that you wanted to create something exclusively for Edmonton like other big cities. But
Yeah.
Don, I have the question that you launched the big band during a particularly challenging time in 2021,
Yeah.
right in the middle of the pandemic. What gave you the confidence or perhaps the urgency to move forward with that vision?
Audacity might be a better word. Um, because primarily because COVID, while it decimated large parts of my industry, I actually saw as a pretty great opportunity in some ways. You know, if there's one thing that people had a lot of during COVID, it was time. And if you had any amount of foresight whatsoever, you would realize that COVID restrictions weren't going to last forever, and this actually creates a lot of time to plan and think things out, and have stuff that's ready to go the minute things open up. So, our first full season was still under COVID restrictions, and we operated within those guidelines and still managed to have sold out shows. So, it was just a matter of the 5 P's: proper preparation prevents poor performance. So if so, yeah, I guess there was a certain amount of audacity, but there was a lot of opportunity there too, where we had probably, I suspect, everybody in every industry, despite encountering a lot of obstacles, um, most people had a lot more time on their hands than they do during regular life, and time's a real asset.
Yeah, I'll come to that, that how this is challenges and leadership question. But before that, I'd like to, ask you a question that your foundation aims to make, the live big band jazz, the accessible and vibrant in, Edmonton through concerts, education, and, the advocacy. So what have been some of the most rewarding outcomes so far?
Well, the most rewarding outcome for myself was seeing how many people got behind this. So we operate with the support of the Edmonton Arts Council, the City of Edmonton, the Government of Alberta, Chartwell Retirement Residences, and any number of sponsors that have helped us out immensely. And audiences obviously are the biggest support. But in addition, we've had a number of very generous donors that have enabled this to work, because this is not a small operation. Any one of these concerts probably costs about $25,000 to produce. Um, And I guess just the level of support is the most rewarding thing here. We've managed to build up a core of over 100 volunteers. Our newsletter has grown into the hundreds practically overnight. It's so that's the most rewarding thing. Musically, there have been any number of rewarding experiences. We managed to bring in Melissa Aldana, who's a New York-based Blue Note recording artist and Grammy Award nominee, and do a concert with her. That was super exciting for me and super fun. Um, but I could list half a dozen other experiences that were musically rewarding and personally fun. But I would say the biggest and most rewarding aspect of this for me is, like you said, this is sort of my gift to the city of Edmonton. At the end of the day, I want this to outlive me. And while, we've branded it as the Don Berner Big Band and the foundation under my name as well, because for a number of reasons, I've managed to have good enough branding that we've put butts in seats. I don't necessarily see that name sticking around forever, and I want this to outlive me.
Very good to know. During my, the college life, I was fond of, the Clint Eastwood movies, So this might be a stress to ask you a question. When I think of the way that you lead large ensembles, I'm reminded of someone like, that Clint Eastwood movies, and Neo Morricone, the shaping sound, to tell a story. So do you ever feel that kind of cinematic responsibility when you are performing or directing, the program especially for the Edmonton audience?
Yep. I mean, ultimately, it's my name on this right now. So whatever people are hearing, I'm going to bear the brunt of the responsibility for. So whatever that sounds like, I have to be happy with. Now, that said, part of the business model here, I stole from a band leader named Tommy Banks, who for decades was just a renowned big band leader in Edmonton, and had his own TV show in syndicated television during the 70s and 80s, and ended up as a senator and any number of accomplishments. But watching him as I was growing up, I realized, oh, he just hires the best guys around. Uh, so if you fill any position with the best person possible, your management style can become a lot more hands off. Whether that's music or any other type of business, if it allows you to let go of the reins a little, and your directions to be a little both sparser and a little well, yeah, you don't have to give as much direction. People know what they're doing, and your biggest job then is to facilitate that, first of all, and secondly, uh, if something isn't to your liking, to communicate that effectively.
Yeah, very good. So you talked about the audacity to launch the program during the COVID. So my question to you on the challenges. So building an 18-piece ensemble during a global pandemic and managing all the logistics must have been a major challenge. So what was the toughest the part, and how did it shape your leadership?
Well, the toughest part probably was the logistics. Um, but if you're talking about launching that during COVID restrictions, there was another aspect to that which was challenging, which was as we've all seen, COVID became extremely politicized and polarizing, and trying to be as gracious with the public as possible while maintaining everyone's safety and following. I mean, producing a big band concert with an 18-piece ensemble is enough logistics to begin with, and that just made it slightly more difficult. Fortunately, I've got a pretty good brain for keeping track of a whole bunch of moving pieces at once. So uh, just need to have about 100 flowcharts going on upstairs.
Definitely, yes. So yeah, that's why it's a leadership challenge, so the bringing and convincing everyone, they believe in your vision. So it was not I'm sure it was not an easy task. So what was your mantra, so that bring everybody together and make sure that that everybody believes in your vision and people will support you.
I don't know if I'm a mantra per se. Definitely, there's a certain philosophy behind this, which is this needs to be community based. In order to succeed, I think um, part of the failure of previous projects along these lines has been they've generally been somewhat egocentric, and that's a, a pitfall for musicians because performing is a very personal thing, so you certainly have to have a certain amount of confidence to get up in front of a few hundred people or a few thousand people and say, "Hey, look at me, I'm awesome." but at the same time, if you want something that's going to be a bigger business than just being a musician and want something that's going to outlast you, it needs to be community based. It needs to make everybody feel welcome. So I guess like I said, not a mantra so much as a philosophy, which is I'm trying to create a space where everybody is welcome in some capacity. So I mentioned, we have 100 plus volunteers, hundreds of people in the audience, 18 guys in the big band. I want everybody to feel comfortable and like they can participate in some way, and that at the end of this, we've all had a really great time together.
Good. Okay, let's shift the gear a little bit. So right now, what are you most focused on? Whether it's a fundraising, planning performances, or growing your audience?
Yes, all of the above. Um, all of those are ongoing concerns. So it really is hard to prioritize those. And quite frankly, this is a small operation right now. Like I said, it's in its fifth season, but we still have challenges. We're currently still undergoing applications, and this is a few years long process to become a registered charity federally and a charitable organization designated provincially, which first of all will allow us access to bigger funds. So right now, trying to pull off something like this on a somewhat limited budget where it will grow in coming years is tricky. Growing audiences is a little easier simply because it's more organic. Like I said, we've started a newsletter, and the biggest and best advertising we can have is word of mouth. I want people to go away feeling like they've had a great night out, and that they want to do this again, and preferably do it again a lot more. But fundraising is probably, I guess, if I had to prioritize, that's the biggest one. Logistics, I mentioned earlier, I have a pretty good brain for this and can keep track of a lot of moving pieces. But fundraising is probably the number one priority, simply because it has to be done on a daily basis. And I guess, and sorry, I hope I'm not rambling too much here. The biggest key I found there as well is, again, it's all community based. It's about relationship building and making sure that people feel like they have a relationship with me and a relationship with the band.
Yeah. So what I hear you, so that yes, fundraising, because the program is not cheap. It's $20,000 to $25,000 per program. So fundraising is a key priority. But as I understand that you want to leave a legacy. So the question to you, Don, that if you had a few protected hours each week just for long-term visioning, without the pool of the day-to-day logistics or this or fundraising, what would you explore or prioritize other than fundraising to create your legacy?
Well, it wouldn't just be a matter of time, it would be a matter of money too.
Yeah.
So if I had unlimited funds and unlimited hours, I can think of a lot of things I'd do, not the least of which would be my priority would suddenly be to take a vacation for the first time in 5 years. But I guess relating to this, it would probably be feeling like I had more time to focus on the art and production of it proper. Yeah, a lot of things like logistics and fundraising and what have you. Those aren't why I went into music. These are necessary evils that that somebody has to be good at, or nothing gets done. But it's certainly not my driving force or the part of this that I love. And so I guess I would really focus on just. I know how artsy fartsy this sounds. I'd focus on making art. I'd focus on who can we bring in, how can we challenge audiences and still expand them? Because I mean that's tricky too. We're talking about an using an instrumentation for an art form that hasn't really been in the popular vernacular for 60, 70 years, and trying to make something where it's palatable to everybody, and something where everybody has a point of access and goes away feeling like, oh yeah, that is cool. I guess I do like big band music, or I do like jazz or instruments. They're not that bad. So I'd love to spend more time really thinking about the musical aspects, but there are only so many hours in a day.
Yes, yeah. So it's a creative part, as I understand, but to leave a legacy, and then your foundation, and runs on its own. So that that's why I was asking you the question, that what if you have to have a couple of hours, and what will be that hour you'll focus on, that it runs on your
Yeah.
legacy. Is there.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be. I'd love to. Heck, I'd love to actually compose and arrange for this group more. That would be a lot of fun and leave a legacy of, physical music and nothing else. But really, if I'm trying to leave a legacy, and yeah, you cut right to my motivations very quickly. So, very astute of you. It's this as an institution, and making sure that this is in a good position to outlive me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, for, that resonating with me, because I always believed in that, creating an organization, and then it runs on its own, so that,
Totally.
yeah.
I want this to be something where I have a retirement age in mind, and something where I can pass this on. And, I'd love to, if you're talking about if I had a few hours in the week, I'd love to just play in the band. I'd love to not have to worry about anything other than showing up and playing my instrument. That'd be a lot of fun. Um, but uh, but that's not the case.
Yeah, that's your
And
creative part, but the
yeah,
legacy part, you need to
yeah,
create an organization so it runs.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, we are clear on that. So we are almost at the end of the interview. My two more questions I have. So balancing, the creative energy that you wanted to give, and then organizational leadership and personal life isn't easy. How do you stay grounded and sustain your creative spark amid all?
I stay grounded by having a dog. That's I'm afraid that's pretty much the extent of my personal life these days, is taking care of my pet. Right now, and again, like I said, in a couple of years, this will be in a better position where I have more staff, and this is easier. But the growth has outpaced our funding, quite frankly. Um, so right now I don't have much of a personal life. I basically end up working on this when I'm not playing music, from the minute I get up till the minute I go to bed. But how do I stay grounded? I don't know. I like to think my folks gave me a pretty good upbringing, and you know, try and sleep and eat regularly.
So you launched a program, when in a time when people are very much scared. So you showed that leadership grit. So whether it is the music industry or any other organization, if someone give some message, that when people are facing with challenges, and that what are the leadership message you will give, that how to overcome and then take something of their dream.
Just that you have to believe in yourself, because if you don't, nobody else is going to. Um, quite frankly, the world owes you virtually nothing. So if you want something in this life and you want to be happy, well, you might have to fight a bit for it. Actually, here, you just reminded me, there was another challenge during COVID, which is to say, when I launched this, I had no funding. I launched this the first season. This was the foundation was formed post hoc. In our second season, we fell under the auspices of that at the suggestion of the Edmonton Arts Council. But for my first season, I basically put up my own money, and I wouldn't recommend anybody do this. Taking a gamble on big band music is not necessarily a guaranteed path to riches and fortune. But I did want to create a situation where professionals could play at a high level, and that involves paying them properly. So I basically said, yep, I'm going to gamble my money against ticket sales and then grow this. So I guess if I had another piece of advice to pass on to anybody who wants to go after something, it's that Rome wasn't built in a day, and you can't wait for the perfect opportunity to be handed to you. Things get built up over time. We're in a much better position now than we were. We just finished our fourth season, so we're in a much better position now than we were at the beginning of season one. And in another 4 years, this will be in a better position yet. So you can't wait for everything to fall into place. You have to figure out a way to make things work, and sort of a case of take a leap in the net, it will appear.
Okay, so if I summarize for my, the audience, so that what you are saying, that first of all, you need to believe in something, that when you have to believe in, and then you remain focused and don't wait for a right moment. You make that, take the moment and make it right. And
that was way more succinct than what I said, but yes.
Yeah, and give you 100% in that.
Yep.
And learn from the, because it's not life is not a bed of roses. So that you learn from this, those mistakes and those, the opportunities, take the opportunities head on. Absolutely. So I think that's the summary for for my audiences.
That was much better than what I said. that was exactly what I said, but way more succinct.
So my last question, that where can people go to support the foundation or experience your concerts?
Okay. They can go to donbernerbigband.com. That's DONBERNER Big Band, BIGBAND.com. There's a number of portals on there that includes our sponsorship package and a donation page. And they can find out information and contact info and what our concert seasons will entail. But really, once they've seen that, the biggest thing they can do to support this is buy a ticket to a concert. Come out, have a nice time, and enjoy yourselves. That's the biggest thing I would hope people would do.
So thank you, Don, for sharing your story and for your dedication to Edmonton's musical landscape. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very much appreciate it. Thanks for getting in touch. We'll talk again.